Hello and welcome to Propy's Weekly Webinar. This is episode 137, and our goal on these webinars is to entertain and educate our audience. I'm Gwyneth Iredale. I'll be your host today. I am the Vice President of Customer Success here at Propy, and I've been in the business for quite a while. I've seen different markets, 2005 and through today. So pleased to be here at Propy. And this week, you'll be excited to know that we have Chris Pope, who has joined Propy fairly recently as head of sales. And he's got an amazing background, which he's going to share some of his experience and our observations for our topic today, which is how to prepare for the market in 2023 and how to help real estate agents thrive. So Chris, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Gwyneth. My name is Christopher Pope. I'm the head of sales here at Propy. And, I've been in this real estate space for about 10 years. I spent about 6 years at Zillow Group helping build out this premier agent vertical. And I spent about almost 4 years building out a title and escrow company named Modus. That business was acquired by one of the largest real estate brokers in the country. But again, been in this space for a long time and super excited to be on the team here at Propy. And I'm very excited to be a part of this conversation today.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We've invited you here today to help agents grow their business and be more successful in 2023 in traditional real estate.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you want to launch right into it then?
Yeah, we might as well. So, I would say, before we kind of dive in to the purpose of today's webinar, which is how can real estate professionals, thrive in 2023? I wanted to discuss, real quickly, the real estate landscape itself, and I think from my point of view is that, in 2022, we kind of noticed that the landscape has changed. I think year to date, we have already kind of observed a decrease in transaction volume. And, I think this team knows why. It's record low inventory, rising interest rates. I'm sure someone on this thread here is feeling this trend personally. I know a lot of clients are definitely feeling the pressure. So I guess, what does this change in landscape, mean? I think it means that as business professionals in this real estate space, that we have to adapt. I think it means if we don't make a change to maybe our business strategy and our marketing approach, I think it might be a mathematical certainty that we will not outperform last year's GCI. And I think everyone would agree with that. So I guess, again, from my purview, this is what I keep hearing. I think I keep hearing that simply closing a file might not be enough anymore. When I talk with hundreds of real estate agents, the expectation of, and I'm just using one example of a title partner, in 2022 has changed. And I think everyone could agree that this title and escrow business partnership maybe needs to go both ways, which is actually the reason why I'm very excited about this conversation today. As myself and the Propy team feel, it is imperative that we do our best to support our clients, which, in 2022 going into 2023, I think is taking priority over, maybe relationship, price, or location. So with that said, let's dive into the main question of the day, which is, gosh, how do agents maximize growth in 2023? And in my opinion, I think it's 4 categories. I think it's accountability. I think it's outreach campaigns. I think it's consistency. And, of course, it's the data. And then what we have to do is we have to blend that all together to come up with an efficient business plan that we can execute. Right? Not in theory, this theory world, but the real world, right? The actual world. So let's dive into the accountability piece first. How do we hold ourselves accountable in real estate, right? Well, if real estate is a contact sport, so you have to contact people, what we're really saying here is how do we hold ourselves accountable to contacting people, right? And I think Gwyneth has a fantastic recommendation she'd love to share.
Yeah, and it's about hitting your metrics. It's about knowing how many people you need to excuse me, contact. It's about going out and being with them. Can you go golfing? Can you have coffee? Can you provide them the right information? Can you be their partner, right? And be the trusted advisor in your market? Can it be the fact that you're a local expert, you're hyper local, and knowing how many people you have to talk to close your business is really important. So I think it boils down to something as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. And, I think, when we talk about this accountability piece, there's so many hours in a day, right? There's 24 hours in a day. So, I think, we absolutely have to be efficient with our time, right? So one strategy I would recommend if we're trying to hold ourselves accountable is, especially within this time, like how are we efficient with our time, is we need to kill the noise, right? We need to get out of this Monday morning quarterbacking. We have to get out of this, going through social media void and closing our TikTok and really getting out of that vortex. Because if you think about it, guys, if you're working for an hour, you haven't worked until you've talked with potential money-making clients. All you've really done is shuffled around papers filled with your inbox. You need to talk about real estate to make money in real estate.
I love that, Chris. Can you say that again, please?
Yeah. You need to talk to people about real estate to make more money in real estate. So if we're talking about nailing down one thing, I would say let's hold ourselves accountable to making sure that we are efficient with our time.
Excellent. I love that. And so how do you put something in practice to be accountable for? So of course, all real estate agents are excellent marketers, right? What's going to be different in 2023 to what you're already doing? Well, there's some trends. And if you listen to coaches or some predictions for trends, some words are coming up repeatedly. Be creative. What does that mean? Try something unexpected or unconventional. Have you seen some of the ads these days? Some of them are really surprising. And ad agencies have spent a ton of money coming up with messaging and some tactics that really resonate with people. And I think now is a good time with the volatility, the uncertainty going into 2023. It is a good time to try something creative, unconventional. But of course, don't do anything silly. Make sure it's a tactic, it's a message or a medium that resonates with your audience. I looked up what Grant Cardone was saying, and he is quoted as saying you need professionalism and creativity to be truly great at sales, right? So what are other ways you can be creative in outreach campaigns? You got to face it, social media is here, right? Gary Vee is talking about social media. He's 100% sold on social media being the way to find your prospects, be where they are. And it doesn't mean that, you have to be doing something that is uncomfortable for you. If you're a fan of videos, then try TikTok, because there's sort of this TikTokification of social media, the short vertical videos. So maybe it's a new platform for you in 2023. Again, it's about the content you're delivering, though. You are delivering valuable content, and it's got to be what the target audience values and finds relevant and pertinent in the market. And where should that show up? Well, it should show up when you are really practicing social listening. Where are you looking for your people who are ready to make a change and buy a home? So of course, these are the life changes. So if you can do some social listening in combination with social selling, you're going to listen for, of course, as you know, marriages, births, divorces, deaths. And so it does take you some time to do monitoring for business. Chris mentioned the noise, which is being on social for your own entertainment. It can be a rabbit hole, right? You know, you can go down that path. So it really needs that dedicated focus on this as a selling tactic with a business outcome that you can measure. So spend time in the comments, look for those life changes on social media. And if you enjoy doing videos, guess what? They don't have to be highly professional, slick videos. As long as you come across as authentic, right? And put your personality in it so that you are being perceived as honest, unpretentious, informal, and I think just laid back. You don't need any props or special lighting, and make sure that message is short and pertinent. And I would say a call to action. You know, age-old marketing tactics are have a call to action. Give people a reason to come forward. Give people a reason to share. Maybe it's a tour, maybe it's a video of a neighborhood tour or a drive-by video or a home tour to show that you're hyper local. How easy is that? You know that neighborhood. Tag the location, add hashtags. So in summary, it's about being creative where you're creating posts that build credibility, authority. You want to stay top of mind. You're sharing value, content that's educating the segments of your audience that are identified as likely to make a change and to come forward and want to buy or sell real estate. So it's the age-old marketing tactics, the right message at the right time to the right people.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
just go ahead.
oh, great insight. I mean, great insight, Gwyneth. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I honestly, I probably could not agree more. And, you know, if I were to give some insight here, you know, I would suggest that, you know, when real estate professionals take on their primary target area, we all know what those target areas are. They use the numerous tools available to them to capture the attention of that market. When we're uploading data into Facebook, we should also be strategically building out a community page. And then we should also consistently be sending out mailing campaigns. And we should be calling and we should be door knocking, right? We're hitting our target area by land, by sea, and by air. And we basically position ourselves to be unescapable, right? I mean, that's, I guess, how you want to be in real estate, because we never know, right, where our next deal is coming from. So
even from family, don't you hate that one? You hear that a family member or a relative has chosen an agent that's outside of your sphere. Yeah, so you're using your sphere of influence, you're using your people that you haven't met, you're using your prospects, and it's an omni-channel approach. I'm going to go back to sort of advertising labels or vernacular that you are where they're looking. And it could be that combination. You know, I so rarely get anything in my mailbox that sometimes getting a postcard is like, oh yay, I got something in the mail. And I think, you know, maybe going back to those mailings is a good tactic. And like you said, Chris, it's in a campaign, right? So you're touching, it's multiple touch points with a message. And maybe it's a little bit unusual and creative, you know, something different. You know, gosh, was it Tom Ferry? I saw it was a postcard and it had just big letters on the front, and it was like a QR code sort of thing. It gave people an instant impression and gave them a reason to turn the postcard over and see what it was about. and it could have been rates or something, but it was just big blocky letters, totally unexpected, especially for real estate. So this is your opportunity in 2023 to think outside of the box and do some daring things, and then be consistent, measure the success, and track it over time, because just doing a shotgun 1 month campaign isn't really enough time to see if it works.
Right. Yeah. No, and I guess that might be a perfect segue to the data. We mentioned accountability, we mentioned outreach campaigns. Next, I would love to talk about the data. We all could agree that, data is important. But to be honest, it's not about getting the data. We, as real estate professionals, have access to all the data in the world. It's really about the execution of that data with a campaign strategy, right? Having the information is one thing, but we need to start thinking about how do we monetize that information? How do we get our message to our target audience, right? Because we all know, voice to voice is the best way to land a face-to-face. So it's not about having the data, it's about taking action with the data that we have. So
yeah, and I think an example of, let's say, a listing alert, right? Is there something that lets you know that somebody's viewed a home 3 times online? What do you do about it, right? You have to be there ready. It's like a lead coming in, and all those statistics that you've heard about. If you don't respond to a lead within, a minute or 5 minutes, the opportunity to close that goes down in percentages. So I think with 2023, it's going to be more about the expectation of immediacy, and then finding those triggers. What are the triggers? So the execution on the data is finding those meaningful metrics and the triggers, and then the actions you take that you can measure to see what's working, right? So don't keep repeating something that's not working. I think, isn't that how you define a fool? Expecting a different outcome. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. Oh, Gwyneth, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think it's something that every agent probably already has worked out. I'm sure coaches have told you need to know what your hourly rate is. That's an example of the data that you can know. Look at what your costs are divided by the number of hours in a day, and put that dollar figure there to it. So if you're $200 an hour, do you take time off? How do you spend that time? That's opportunity lost. So in the same way, you have the data, but what do you do about it? How do you take that data and apply it in meaningful ways? So just understanding the urgency and the energy needed, the number of calls you need to make your close ratio. How much money do you want to make? Well, it's not how many listings, it's how much money, what's your gross commissions that you want to make as a target for the end of the year. Work backwards, close ratio. How many calls do you need to make a day? If you can convert those calls to a meeting. This is, your basic tactics there, but things are changing in 2023. Fewer homes, so that lower inventory. It's going to be hard work. And I think what's going to happen is agents are going to sit on the sidelines if they're not experienced. And that the top 10% of high producing agents are closing about, I think it was 25% of the business. So the agents who are new in the business are going to work really hard. You're going to be working Saturdays and Sundays and Mondays. You're going to need to apply some tactics to really carve out that market share. And existing top producers are going to have to maintain market share and create more market share. Don't sit on the sidelines in 2023 if home prices still go down, right? You have to be there. You have to create reasons to buy and sell real estate in this market anyway.
Yep.
So be prepared for those, the market, and have good objection handlers for why it's still a good time to buy and sell real estate.
Okay. So it sounds like so far we've covered holding ourselves accountable to an outreach campaign and leveraging and taking action on this data, which brings us next to the consistency piece, right? I think honestly, the word consistency is probably it's the most powerful word we should probably harp on the most. Because here's an example. Let's say we decide to send out 20,000 postcards, right? Maybe we get a piece of business from that, maybe we don't. I think, I'd rather see us send out 1,000 postcards for 20 months because eventually something's going to hit and you would have branded yourself, right? Instead of calling 200 people a day for a week and then getting burnt out, right? I'd rather us see do 20 calls per day, 3 times a week for 52 weeks. By doing it this way, we're giving ourselves the opportunity to implement consistently with activities that will move the needle on a consistent basis. It's known as the waterfall effect, where really this effort turns into results. Because, honestly, I see this all the time, with agents that attend, some seminars, some Tom Ferry events, and they're all fired up, right, for maybe 6 weeks. But then after that time, they just drop everything. And we find them kind of in the same place that they were before, right? So, I would say consistency is really the key to all of this. And the strategies that we implement to ensure we stay consistent all year in 2023. What are your thoughts, Gwen?
Yeah, and I was thinking back, you mentioned Tom Ferry at our summit, actually the one in March. Tom Ferry called it leaning in to learning. So I think some of the top producers, top business people in general, they're always reading books on how to perform better in business, right? So they're always learning. So I think this leaning into learning and being consistent with how you're growing your business every day is that mindset that Tony Robbins talks about. It's that growth mindset. You've heard about that, I'm sure. But even in a down market, and it's got to be hard, right, to be worried about raising interest rates and longer days on market, or the seller's expectation of last week's price. So I am a fan of Tony Robbins. He talks about the growth mindset. How do you have that when things are kind of negative around you? Well, it's about believing in yourself, right? So he talks about developing empowering beliefs, a belief system in you. And for our crypto certified agents, for example, they have the knowledge to advise people. Our title team, they have experience and the skills to handle title for our Propy clients. So it is the belief in yourself, that growth mindset that will help lift you up in the days ahead, which are uncertain in 2023. And that will help you continue to either protect or carve out new market share rather than sitting on the sidelines. And the one last thing I would say is another Tony Robbins-ism is, and maybe he's not the only person who said it, but where focus goes, energy flows, right? If you focus on the negative, you're going to start expecting the negative, right? So this whole growth mindset is that positive thinking thing that you hear about. So we're talking about your mindset. So these are very high level concepts that will trickle through your whole business, let alone through preparing for marketing for 2023. Because people can feel that, right? When you meet people, and Chris, you've said many times, you got to meet with people, talk to them about real estate to earn real estate. I think to command that respect and advisory role, you have to sort of exude this confidence and be very giving of knowledge. And that takes some confidence in what you know and allows you to focus the energy on positive, where the energy will flow. And I think just with that, you can create this plan for success, have the accountability to put it in place, and you'll see by measuring your metrics, that it could be successful.
Yeah.
You know, Chris, some of the questions that were raised that I have, is it okay if I ask you a few questions about what you said?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. In the beginning, you were mentioning that the relationship with a title partner needs to go both ways. So can you explain a little bit, unpack that for me a bit?
Yeah, what I keep hearing is that this relationship between the title escrow partner and the real estate professional, it seems to be a one-way road. You have real estate agents working night and day, working on the weekends, answering their phone during Thanksgiving dinner. They're putting in a lot of energy and effort to capture these transactions, which I completely respect. And it seems like that it's become an expectation now just to work and send all of that business to your primary title partner. But what I hear is that, I think the dynamic has changed. Some of the agents I talked to from 2008, they know what I'm talking about, right? But the expectation now is that maybe, this title and escrow partner can do more for their business partner. So that's, again, based off just chatting with hundreds of agents actually thousands of agents over the last 10 years. That's what I keep hearing, especially now.
That's interesting. Yeah. And I know that Propy, because we are creating firsts all the time, I think we're redefining that relationship as more of a partnership. And we've had nothing but great reviews on our title team. So, and I respect your opinions because of your experience in the title business and with Modus. So thank you for that. And another question that I find myself hard to deal with is when you get up in the morning, it's really difficult to do something hard, right? And I think it's referred to as, I don't know, has anybody else heard this expression, eat your frog? But it means do the hard thing first, right? Do the thing you don't enjoy doing first because you get it out of the way. And there's sort of this reward feeling that if you do the hard things first, it feels good to have accomplished something, but it also gets away out of the way the thing you don't like to do. So then you can, the rest of the day, you can focus on the things you enjoy to do. Do you have any other tips for how to get up in the morning and just embrace work and be as well? Maybe nobody can be as enthusiastic and energetic as Gary V. But any tips for us about moving things forward?
If I would say, have a purpose, I would say lead every day that you're going to be a better person from yesterday.
I love that.
And I say time blocking is key. By working with real estate agents over the last decade, I've noticed just such an impact that is made to them as real estate professionals when they start time blocking their day on the calendar, holding themselves accountable to actions within this specific time frame, right? So I would say start with a purpose. Wake up, do 10 push-ups, 10 jumping jacks, and have a purpose. Try to be a better person than you were yesterday and stick with the schedule, right? Hold yourself accountable to the schedule. And it's amazing what you'll see what happens.
It really feels much more genuine when you're a believer in your own purpose. And that, I'm sure I talk about it in the branding and marketing webinar for our crypto certified agents. The fact that you live and breathe your passion, people, that it just exudes and people can tell. I've had people say, Gwyneth, you love your job, don't you? I said, yes, I love to help solve problems with software in my case. So helping people into the home of their dreams, their first time home, that is a passion. And thank you for saying that. For the people who have joined the webinar, I invite you to please go ahead and write your questions in the chat. We'll take those there and we'll see if we have any questions in social media. Let's see. One of the questions is, how do you find differentiation as a new agent in this competitive market? Well, isn't that about finding your niche? Chris, do you have any thoughts on finding your niche?
Yeah, I think I mean, it depends on how, right? But, the first thing that I always recommend, is finding a mentor. Finding someone who's been in the business for a long time and just seek them for guidance. A lot of the new real estate agents I work with are joining teams and they're surrounded by this amazing mentorship. So that's the first thing I would do is find a mentor, learn from the best, and just follow their strategies. They've been in the business for a long time, so I would just say, go with what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of them. And I think also that because the days ahead are uncertain, maybe it's shifting. So taking a proven tactic that maybe one of your mentors is following, but take a new approach, maybe putting a spin on it with your own personality. Because I think one of the other big words for 2023 is personalization, right? It's about personalizing, that's segmenting your market. Know who you're talking to, right? And give them the message that is relevant to their interests, right? And that will give you that authority and that opportunity for connection, right? If you listen well and talk to people, give them what they want when they want it, as far as information, then you're creating it's sort of like, instead of hyper local, it's hyper listening and hyper targeted. And there's, I think, more and more demand that people respond quickly. And because of social media, the immediacy of information, I think that there's going to be a higher expectation for serving people with social media in terms of answers to questions or targeted content. So perhaps that would work as a point of differentiation. And of course, I would be failing my job here to fail to mention that we have a crypto certified agent course for agents who are looking to differentiate by helping people understand, if you're on the Propy platform, the impact of being on a secure platform where every participant in a transaction can gather and safely do earnest money deposit, avoiding wire fraud, and the convenience of a place where the buyer or seller and all transaction parties can know exactly what's going on when. So that would also be a way to differentiate, that you're providing a secure and transparent platform for building that trust in your clients. All right, so any other questions? I think we're coming up. Oh, we've gone a little bit past the bottom of the hour. Do I see any other questions here? All right. Yes. So thank you. There is a chat. Thank you for asking the question. I was going to mention creative financing. So under the creativity guise of how to differentiate, how to prepare for 2023, there are new financing vehicles. So maybe they're loan assumptions, right? So the seller is arranging that the new buyer assume their loan. There are buybacks, right? Or maybe lease backs. There are opportunities to borrow against crypto. So not only are there different models or I guess business models, the iBuyers kind of got burned, right? They have an inventory of very expensive homes that they're carrying that they're going to probably take a loss on. But that showed that there was a market for a new business model. Cash, we'll pay you cash. So they're probably going to be new business models that agents are going to have to be aware of. And how do you serve that? How do you compete against it? So there will, I'm sure, going to be new finance vehicles, such as borrowing against crypto. Maybe I've seen crypto mortgages. And if the crypto market turns and starts going back up, and people don't want to sell their crypto in any case, maybe these opportunities to borrow against crypto or use crypto as collateral or a down payment that might be what we see in the future there. So any other questions? And I don't know, I'm no expert on finance and I'm not giving any financial information, but I think that you can ask us, our team at Propy, if you have a buyer or seller that wants to do something with creative financing with crypto, please ask us. We do have some ideas. We have some partnerships or associations, I guess, with companies that are offering some of these solutions, these finance type solutions. So please engage with us. You can leave, let's see, if you're on social media live stream, please leave a comment and we will contact you if you're interested in that. You can go to our website, which is propy.com, short for property, propy.com, and you can contact us there and we'd be happy to reach out and just have a discussion about, how we can help you. Thank you for putting that in the chat. All right, so Chris, I think just summarizing what I heard you say are maybe the 4 main points, and then another 5th one for success in 2023. You said accountability, you mentioned outreach,
Yep.
data, and the really important word of consistency. Yeah. And then just summarizing that having that growth mindset, I think in general, for how to be positive in a down market, just every day, get up and move forward, I think would be how to apply that positive energy to go forward in 2023 and have the energy to do the accountability and the outreach and the consistency. All right. I don't see any other questions, so I'm going to say we'll wrap things up. So Chris, it has been such a pleasure to have you here as guest on the webinar, and especially your title expertise. So thank you so much for that, and your experience in your prior job at Zillow has given us lots of insights. So it's such a pleasure to have you here on the webinar and as part of the family of Propy.
Yeah, thank you. It was mine.
Yeah, well, and thank you for our attendees and our viewers on social media. I'm Gwyneth Iredale. I head up the customer success team at Propy, and we will see you next week as we wrap up episode 137. Next week, we're going to be talking about the biggest challenges of the title industry. So hopefully we'll be giving insights and more education to our viewers. So thank you so much to everybody. We'll end the webinar for the live stream, which we have, and thank you and see you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.